This is Brain Software Podcast 107. Today we address argument versus mere assertion and a ton of other stuff.
Hello, dear friends. It's raining here, and it's raining where you are too, even if you can't feel it, dear friends. That's because, dear friends, this dear storm is spreading, dear friends, bringing needed hypnotic moisture to a parched and fallow transosphere. And the hypnotic moisture is seeping and being spread overseas by buccaneers, pirates, sailors, and a lot of seamen, too.
That's more than correct. It's completely glanative, and although the world is a strange and sensitive place, there's one question I have for all of you.
What's that, Chris?
Whatever happened to that old tranquility we used to know? These are days of victory! So welcome to the Brain Software Podcast, where we answer that musical question, who? By inviting to the radar scope of Storm Central, that crazy hell-driving hypnotist. A man who prefers everything to nothing at all. The one I see of Toronto Trance, Mike Mandel.
It's Chris, back from the Great White North, from Whispering Oaks, our little cabin on the shores of Big Bob Lake, and back here at Hypno East to record another brilliant podcast.
Yeah, this is great because we're throwing a few in the hopper because, of course, both of us are spending time up in the Great White North of Ontario, cottage country, and queuing a few podcasts up because after, by the time this is out, we'll actually be in Las Vegas, I believe.
Man,
or it's right. I can't remember what date this is going to be released on, but sometime in August 2018, where we will either be in Las Vegas at HypnoThoughts Live,
or recovering from
it. Yeah. And so I guess it doesn't make any sense at this point to mention htlive.net. But if it does happen to come out before then you'll know. And if it's after HypnoThoughts Live is over, then cue it up into your calendar for next year because it is a fantastic conference we're going every year.
And remember, Chris, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas and
ends up on Facebook.
And nothing's going to happen.
Vegas.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. This is a new life these days with Facebook and Instagram, and it used to be that what happens in Vegas
stays marriages.
Yeah, now it's
of your life. Yeah. I noticed you didn't shave today, buddy. What about your audience? Don't you care about them?
Well,
no.
We're probably not turning this into a video podcast.
No, but we're doing a video
soon.
right after
We are, yeah.
You'll be on the lawnmower right away, won't
Mike's
you?
been making fun of me
You're
because
still just Chris.
The little beard that I can grow, which is really almost nothing, is starting to gray a little bit, isn't it?
Just a bit. Mine is white, buddy. White.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, so we've got a great podcast coming up today.
What's coming up that we need to promote?
Well, yeah, so before we dive into the content, which is going to be amazingly good stuff, we want to mention that we have the incredible James Tripp from Hypnosis Without Trance coming to Toronto
from England
for the weekend of September 22nd and 23rd. He's doing one full day on hypnotic phenomena, and he has a great take on this. He does a lot of eyes open hypnosis.
Excellent trainer.
And, if you want to learn all about how to calibrate your subjects and figure out what kind of phenomena is going to work for them, and then how that's going to help them be convinced they were truly in hypnosis, which can then be segued towards the change work, which is all day 2 is change work, and then all fits together like a bunch of interlocking Lego pieces.
Come out with a whole new set of tools at the end of this weekend. Chris and I are going to be attending. James Tripp is one of our favorite trainers. That's why we bring the very best of the best to Toronto to study at U of T. We can study with them. And James will be showing people how to produce hypnotic phenomena. And I agree with him. I know you do, Chris. I agree with the Jacquins. One of the problems is people do not test their work because they're afraid of it failing. If you do good work, you can test it. It's not going to fail. And James is going to be showing people how to produce amazing hypnotic phenomena pretty well on demand.
We did an interview with him as well. So if you head on over to mikemandelhypnosis.com/James, there is a YouTube video. It's really just a static image and the audio interview because James was on vacation at the time. We wanted to make sure we had a proper bandwidth. So we just did an audio interview, but it's basically turned into a static video that we put on YouTube. It's on our YouTube channel, and we embedded it on that page, MikeMandelHypnosis.com/James. You can listen to him talk for about 20 minutes about all the stuff that he's doing. This is a class that is absolutely suitable for complete beginners or advanced
very
hypnotists.
Experienced hypnotists.
That's usually the way things work.
Now, what's happening on the Friday before James' trip, Chris?
Friday before it, Mike is teaching a one-day seminar on graphology. This is one that we've done as a 1-day and a 2-day training. We're doing a 1-day. It's really cost effective. It's going to be amazing. And it comes with the full graphology course, the online training.
So you can review forever.
Right. So this is normally a $349 digital training. And you get that included in the attendance of the live class, which is
and why would anyone want to learn graphology? Listen, guys, I do it forensically. I'll be doing a forensic lecture on CBC, which is Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
In September, right?
September, yes.
We'll advertise
I use graphology forensically. I've used it with clients. If you're a therapist, a counselor, if you're dealing with other human beings, graphology, the method I will show you, which is a perfect blend of American trait stroke graphology and the European system, which is Gestalt. They are complementary, not contradictory. You will be equipped to look at someone's writing and people will think you are freaking psychic because the writing never lies.
All right. Shall we get on with the content?
We've got some content. The think tank word of the day, Chris, is feet.
Feet.
I mean, that's an odd one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what do you think when you think of feet? How does this apply?
Okay, so feet, immediately two things come to mind for me.
2 feet.
The first, the two, obviously, that it's plural, but two things
Something
about
more useful,
feet
please.
that they jump at me are, one,
feet jump
is for moving. We primarily use our feet to move. So what is it that you want to do? Where do you want to go? I think about our model of present state, which is typically for a lot of people in their problem, the stuck state, and target state, which is really a never-ending treadmill. You're always moving towards that next destination, setting goals for yourself. And how do you get there?
Constantly improving.
Move your feet one step at a time. The other thing that it makes me think of is support. We have 2 feet and they offer us enormous support. We can stand for hours. We have strong muscles in our legs and our core. And the feet are the foundation. If you don't have feet, it doesn't matter how strong your quadriceps are, your abs, your back muscles, you will not be able to stand up.
Right. And also the fact that if your feet are injured, it affects your entire body.
Exactly.
You have to deal with it. Feet as well can be a measurement of distance. Feet as in meters.
Oh, yes, of
inches.
course.
So I'm thinking, what is measurable in your life as far as the changes you're making? What changes can you measure? Because we say if you don't measure it, you may just slip right by the change and not notice it. We've seen people, hypnosis trainers, put someone in a trance and the person's been in a trance and been brought out of it 3 or 4 times and the hypnotist is still doing their induction because they haven't noticed the progress, the distance, the change that has happened.
Just calibrating certain things like that, what's the word I'm looking for here? That
feet?
That slack-jawed not poker face, the hypnotic mask.
Oh, hypnotic mask.
The level of relaxation throughout all of the facial muscles. Yeah. You'll see this, not accelerate is the wrong word, but you'll see this amplify over time.
There's the thing in hypnosis. Try again. Hypnosis is an amplifier of experience. Right. So feet, can lead us somewhere. It can be our support. And if the feet hurt, they need to be dealt with.
I'm liking this idea of using these random words.
It's a great thing because our brains are, as you know, Chris, are self-patterning systems.
Right. We want to fire
always
that.
Dropping things into the pattern.
Every time we pick a word like this and we discuss it, I think what it causes people to do is map that word and the discussion points towards their goals, and their reticular activating system is more likely to just find opportunities. It's not magic, right? They find more opportunities to apply these types of thoughts to the actions that they take in their life.
Random word input, all Edward de Bono's brilliant stuff. Right. My question for you, Chris, is what's your next goal you're working on? I've got a follow-up question immediately.
Yeah, in what area?
It's up to you. Pick one.
Man, well, the top of mind one that keeps the top of mind goal that I tend to think about a lot because I start my day, as you know, with my morning workout. Except for days like today when we do podcasts, because these are morning podcasts. I go to the gym, I do my gymnastics strength training workout, and I am obsessed right now with being able to gain the mobility and flexibility and strength to do what's known as a press handstand.
Okay, now pause there. So you've given me what I'm looking for. Let's apply the word of the day, a press handstand. So my question is, that press handstand, which is yet future for you.
Yes, it is.
Future for you.
Yes, it is. I think it's in my mind, like if I imagine a timeline, I'm thinking within a year, I want to be able to do that, which really just feels like maybe 10, 15 feet out in front of me.
That's not bad.
If I visualize it. It's not way out.
So where is your death? Just beyond that?
Oh, yeah. You bastard. You bastard. That's just...
Okay. On a scale of 8 to 10, how close to death are you right now?
Nice bind.
This is Michael C. Anthony's thing. I love it. I said I was going to do it in the podcast and give him credit. He'd kill me at backgammon, he'd say to me, on a scale of 8 to 10, how close are you wanting to kill yourself right now? On a scale of 8 to 10, it's like setting the framework. Okay,
that is really funny.
I want to talk to you about argumentation, Chris.
Okay, let's talk about it.
This is something that's come up a few times because my wife is a woman of strong intellect and tremendous ability to research and learn. And it always irritates her that people don't understand that argumentation doesn't mean a screaming match. Argumentation is not a fight, but a reasoned and principled disputation about a matter of fact. So you're arguing to determine what the truth is. Argument in Western culture has turned into this thing of people shouting and screaming at each other. That's not what it is. It's the use of logic to reach some sort of conclusion.
We could probably use a less painted word and call it debating.
Right, except argument is the proper term.
Yeah, it is. It's just that it's become...
Which is what we're clarifying.
It's become a painted word, hasn't it?
Yes,
are we arguing about this right now?
Yes, we are. So if we take something like, I love this metaphor. Greg Kukel, a guy online who I really like his stuff, he said, arguments are like simple houses. They are a roof supported by walls. And the roof is the conclusion you're building to, and the walls are the supporting ideas.
That makes sense.
But the problem is, we have to test the walls to see if they can hold up the roof.
Right, because if they fall down...
then the whole argument collapses. If the walls collapse, so does the roof, and the argument is then defeated. So if you can make some sort of argument about, no one should ever have vaccines or whatever, if someone can show that the walls holding that up are faulty, they do not support it, then you can destroy the conclusion.
Right, and that's why universal arguments or universal statements are often poor statements.
Because all generalizations are bad.
Yeah, including that one.
Do you know who said that?
Was it Richard Bandler?
Everybody. That's a good line. I said to my wife, you know who said that? It was Bandler, and she said, everybody.
Oh, that's freaking hilarious.
But here's the point, Chris. This is what I run into a lot. Some arguments are not arguments at all. They are simply assertions.
Yeah.
These are roofs without walls. And we'll hear this all the time. Well, I just know it. Or I feel it's
Mike,
true.
That is such a nice metaphor.
This is why I wanted to bring this up.
A floating freaking roof. It has no walls supporting it.
It's really sitting on the ground.
It's just an assertion. Yeah.
And so you can tell because it will be things like, I just know it's true. Yeah. Well, I feel that we should do this. Or the other one is, well, all I know is my brother went there, and ever since he did, he's been a millionaire. It's like, okay. But so then what we have to do is recognize that an assertion, you say, if that's all you know, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But an assertion simply makes a point. Whereas an argument gives supporting reasons why the point should be taken seriously in the first place, right?
And if somebody makes an assertion, you can simply ask for the walls.
Exactly. So because an opinion is not proof, belief requires reasons. And a number of times now in this postmodern nonsensical age that we live in, you'll hear things like, well, that's just your opinion. But they'll say that about things like facts of history.
Yeah.
Well, that's just your opinion. Implication is every opinion is true for that person, and there's no such thing as truth, no absolute truth. Well, of course, this self-stultifies right away. But people forcefully make these assertions, which is really just a point of view, and they'll crumble when challenged. So when someone forcibly says something, you have to immediately recognize this may be just an assertion and check to see what are the walls that are holding this thing up. Can they provide them?
Right. And I guess to continue with the metaphor, you can either immediately check for the walls with questions.
Yeah.
Or you can bait them with more and more extreme comments that they'll make, which is like lifting the roof higher and higher and higher.
Ad absurdum.
And it's being held up by a little string. As soon as you cut that string, crash.
Yes. And extending things to the ridiculous will often do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Which reminds me that, actually, look at this right on the desk.
Oh, here we are. Logically
This
fallacious.
book, Mike and I talked about this on the podcast before by Bo Bennett.
PhD.
Yeah. And it's called Logically Fallacious.
Great book.
The ultimate collection of over 300 logical fallacies. It is an interesting book, the kind that you can just pick up, read a few pages. Just read a few.
I love it. And that's what I've been doing. The thing I love about it is he's got a really good sense sense of humor, too.
Oh, he's hilarious. He makes so many really funny examples, not makes examples. He gives so many made up hilarious examples to demonstrate these.
Well, that sounds like a mere assertion to me, Chris. Just
yeah. In my opinion, it's a funny book.
Well, I feel that it isn't.
And when you admit that something's an opinion, that's fine. You're allowing somebody else to hold a different view, and that's okay.
Well, it's funny, we say all this, and that's right. You're allowing someone to have a different opinion, but opinions may or may not be true. That's the bottom line, isn't it? I've got a friend, and he went for financial advice to a guy he knows who is a sound technician who took some evening course on being a financial
that makes
planner.
Him an expert. Yeah.
So he's got a financial planner who's a sound technician, and he said, I know he's new to this, but here's his rationale. My wife and I both got a really good feeling about the guy. Oh, okay. So there's a roof hovering in the air with absolutely nothing supporting it.
That's it.
And when people make these assertions, I love to say things like, that's a really, really interesting point. What facts do you use to support it? And Chris, you know that you and I have this discussion point about salt. The whole mythology that salt is always bad for you, it'll kill you. And there's very strong evidence in the book, The Salt Fix, that is not the case. It's the carbs that have been the problem from the beginning.
It's the sugar, yeah.
And the sugar, the simple sugars. And the interesting thing is, as soon as someone says, well, I know salt causes high blood pressure. That's very interesting. And what facts do you use to support that conclusion?
That's why the book is so fascinating, because he goes through the entire history. We're talking about The Salt Fix by Dr. James D. Nicolantonio. We should reach out to him to make sure he knows we're talking about this.
Yeah, maybe he'll send us some free salt.
The beginning.
That's hilarious.
Oh, that is really
1,000 different ways.
Okay. The beginning of the book does attack the walls. It goes, well, here's this roof, right, that says, oh, you really need to restrict your salt intake. Okay, well, what caused that roof to be put there in the first place? Yeah. And there was no actual evidence. There was this assertion and this theory that never stood up to any scrutiny.
Like Dick Ansel Keys and all his stuff. That's another podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on from
We're not going to insult people, but
why don't you play that great question?
Okay, so now we're going to move on. We've talked about arguments and assertion. I think that's useful. We're going to move on to the mailbag. We've got two for you today. The first one comes from Fred, who is
from Sanford Fleming College.
Yes, Fred is an awesome guy. He took our Architecture of Hypnosis class, and he sent in an audio question. So let's play that question for you now.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Mike. It's Fred here. Thanks for taking my question. My question for you is about John Bradshaw's work going back to the 1980s. Bradshaw did inner child work, as Mike probably remembers. And Bradshaw asked us to go back and see ourselves, visit ourselves as a 2-year-old child. And if we did that, we'd be able to see ourselves as innocent and beautiful and lovable. There's lots of people I know who have difficulty seeing themselves that way today. And I just wondered how challenging this 2-year-old child, one under a hypnotic trance. If you have any insight on Bradshaw's work, I'd appreciate knowing about that. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, this is really interesting. Bradshaw looked at the inner child concept a lot. There's really good books on this. And Chris, I hate to beat this to death, but so many things depend upon ego states.
Yeah.
I think I really want to do that wizard school and teach a day on regression and a day on ego
Let's
state
book
work.
it. You've been talking about it for 2 or 3 years.
A lot of people want to do this. So we should do it, and then we can put it online as well. But ego states, the whole idea of an inner child ego state, I would agree with Bradshaw with this caveat. There's not just one.
Yeah.
I believe there are several inner child ego states. Some of them are frozen at specific ages. And if one goes back and thinks back to being or imagines being about 2 years old, you do see a more pristine state with a child that is uncontaminated by fear, uncontaminated by guilt, all of these things.
Because you're going back early enough. You're going back to 2 when...
Having said that, any memories, actual memories before about age 3.5 are highly suspect.
Sure.
We just did not.
In a way, you're manufacturing. You're manufacturing an imagined scenario of you as a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Which is what did he say? Lovable and innocent.
Yes.
And I can't remember the third adjective he used, but I love the idea. Now, he did say
some people have trouble.
Most people have. I'm not sure if he was saying most people or some people have a hard time imagining themselves that way, i.e. now, like I'm in my 40s and I have a hard time imagining myself as being innocent and lovable, or if he meant that some people have a hard time imagining that 2-year-old version of themselves.
Yeah, that might be the case.
Either way, I would imagine, and I believe based on experience, that it is easier to get people to do this kind of thing if you put them in a hypnotic trance.
Of course it is. And that's where we're going with this. Remember, since hypnotism is an amplifier of human experience, anything we can do from the constraints of a robust hypnotic trance will by necessity be stronger and more glanative than not using a trance.
And we've talked a lot, and we teach in every class, the importance of setting up a session by using yes sets, getting people to agree with you, and then compliance sets, getting people to comply with your request. Simple things like put your feet together, sit down in that chair, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and just slip into a trance. Whatever it is, by getting them to comply, they will not resist you later when you tell them to, for example, imagine themselves as a 2-year-old child.
Right.
They'll just do it, and they'll act as if they can because they've gotten into this. There's a
phenomena here too. There's a bridging phenomena can take place insofar as if they have evaded a wounded inner child that has not been executive for a very long time. Hypnosis is a way of gaining access to it without any question. I've worked with some extremely deep states with people who have not seen the light. One was about a 18-month-old baby crying in the cold, shivering in the cold, and was pre-verbal.
Wow.
And we just assigned another ego state the task of looking after this child and protecting it. And afterwards, the woman told me she remembers clearly the one that went to protect this baby. And the baby was crying because in reality, this woman had been left with an aunt and uncle who were layabouts, didn't really care about her, uncovered in a cold room crying and screaming, who were looking after her. And so through hypnosis, we got another ego state to look after and nourish and protect and nurture this little baby and keep it warm. And she said when she came out of hypnosis, can I tell you the one that showed up to help the baby? Has to be an ego state that wants to do that. She said it was a big, robust Scottish woman.
Oh, wow.
You see her, come here, lass, and he wrapped her up and held her, and she said she just felt completely safe in this strong woman's grasp. It's amazing, this stuff, Chris. So yes, hypnosis, answering Fred's question in a circumlocutory fashion, hypnosis will enhance this. And I recommend that all of our listeners look into ego states, look into Gordon Emerson's amazing books, Watkins and Watkins, if you're a little more advanced, or Paul Federin. And by making friends with your ego states that are dissociated from the group, that are injured, helping them, you will greatly help and improve the quality of your own life.
Awesome. Now, I want to point out also that Fred, thank you, Fred, for those of you listening, which is everyone.
Right.
That's a universal.
Which is all of you.
Notice how good that sounded. His question, it sounded like a radio quality recording.
It was extremely good.
And part of it is he just has an awesome voice.
He does.
But the other part is he did what I asked all of you to do. Send your questions in audio format simply by speaking into the voice recorder app on your phone. He just used a Samsung smartphone and recorded it using the audio.
Send it as an attachment
just
to info@MandelHypnosis.com.
Yeah, info@MikeMandelHypnosis.com. Just record your question, keep it concise the way he did, and we'll put it on the podcast.
Ken Sweatman need not apply.
All right. Next question.
I'm going to ask you this one. I'll let you handle this because you are my only hypnosis trainer I've ever certified.
Okay.
Chris, Brad sends an email. He asks all about self-hypnosis. How do you know you're in self-hypnosis? Do you fake it until you make it? How can you use it for maximum benefit for pain management, stress and anxiety, etc.?
Okay. So, yeah, and I saw this question come in, which is, of course, why we put it in the podcast. Brad had purchased the pain management product off of the website and wanted to get some feedback on if he was using it correctly, etc., etc., etc. So how do you know that you're in self-hypnosis? Do you fake it until you make it? Yes, actually you do. How do you know? You're only going to know by doing it. When you do it, you're going to get a feeling that you can calibrate against. So the first time you do it, you might go, let's say you're not really sure what you're doing and you keep analyzing yourself. Going,
right.
Oh, am I in hypnosis? I don't really know. Well, you'll know how you feel and you'll know how to compare that against how you normally feel if you just lie there and close your eyes or sit in a chair and close your eyes. And the more that you do the exercises. So for example, if somebody was to do a breathing with the eyes induction on themselves, self-hypnosis, or imagine taking themselves through the element induction, actually doing that, fractionating themselves. there will be a shift in how that person feels or how you feel. I'll talk to you. There will be a difference in how you feel as you do those things. And the more that you practice, the more that you do it.
And notice the difference.
The more you will begin to notice the shifts. And then you'll rely on yourself, knowing you can trust yourself to go into a trance very, very easily. So, in a sense, fake it until you make it. It's not brain surgery where that would be a bad thing.
Right. Fake it until you become it.
Yeah. Just practice. Just keep doing it, right?
Nice.
It's really no different than... How do you, like, if I think about that handstand stuff I talked about earlier,
I knew you was going to get
how
back
do
to
I
that
know
somehow.
that I can do a handstand or that I can't do one? Well, basically, the first time you try, you kind of fall on your face or something, and you know what it's like to stand up on your legs. So how do you know when you're standing on your hands? Well, when you feel that you're balancing and that you're controlling yourself, and you get to calibrate that, hey, I stayed up for longer this
So you're
time
learning to
before
calibrate
collapsing
to a
on
different
my
feeling.
face. Just imagine that this is a real thing and calibrate against what you know feels real for you.
Nice. And with that, Chris, we're going directly to a word from our sponsor.
How was your summer camp, Danny? Get in the Lincoln and belt yourself in, son. That's quite a tan you picked up.
It was okay, I guess, Dad. But that's not a tan. It's a glow of pride. I won second prize in the handicraft contest, and the counselor said that my beadwork necklace was really creative.
Whoa, slow down and take a breath, Captain Handy Boy. It sounds like somebody's getting too big for his britches again. Did you know that second place would be a silver medal if there was a beadwork Olympics?
A silver medal? Wow, Dad.
That's right, son. A silver medal, also known as first of the losers.
Yeah, I guess so, Dad. I never thought of it that way.
You guessed right, son. You're still just Danny.
Yeah.
You're still just Danny, tonight at 8 p.m. on the Gus Grissom Network.
Okay, Chris, let's talk about 100 Days of Awesome. Do you want to touch on a couple of points here? And our time is going fast. And we got a live webinar to the world to do in a couple of minutes. So
okay, so let's...
Uncle Mike needs some more coffee.
Let's start with this. We actually have... Let's go with the learn to say no. I think that's important. And then let's also follow up with the learn to say yes.
Okay, that's great.
Let's do both.
I'll do learn to say no. You do learn to say yes.
All right.
Okay, learn to say no, and these two are not contradictory. They're complementary. There are many, many people who have trouble saying no to other people. And I've got a friend, a good friend. He's a friend of Chris's as well. And this guy has sunk a ton of money into a company. He's got in way over his head.
I think you mentioned this on a prior podcast. So
no, I mentioned it in one of the 100 Days of Awesome's recordings.
Okay.
He's sunk a ton of money into this company. And even if I have said it before, it's okay. It's
fine to repeat.
Because I'm at an age where this
next point is it's okay to repeat yourself.
It's okay to repeat yourself. It's okay to repeat yourself. It's okay to repeat yourself. Deja vu all over again. He said he's sunk so much money into this company, he's in over his head.
I hope they don't
because
ask
he can't
me for
say
more.
no to them.
Yeah.
He would rather blow money, waste money, thousands of dollars, than experience the feeling of saying no to someone. And he actually said what Chris just said. I hope they don't ask me for any more. Oh man, that's so self-destructive.
It reminds me of when I was in my I guess it was actually in my late teens at the time. I was a university student. I had watched you do the brain software seminar, and you had recommended Tony Robbins in your reading material. And I started studying Tony Robbins material, learning about the forces of pain and pleasure. Right. You can be motivated towards pleasure. I almost said towards pain.
Yeah.
That would be weird. You can be motivated towards pleasure and away from pain. They're the twin forces that motivate you. And it was, in this guy's mind, more painful to say no than to give up the money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
He's motivated by the least path of the path of least pain.
Yes.
Which doesn't make any sense.
More painful to say no than to waste the money, thousands of dollars.
Which seems insane. So how do you fix this?
Okay, simple thing. We put this online many times. Agree with whatever they're saying and tell them what you want. Oh, we need to borrow this money from you. I'm sure you do, but I can't lend it to you.
Right. So you have to get comfortable.
You've always lent it to us before. I'm sure I have, but I can't lend it to you anymore. Well, you're the only one we can count on. Understood, but I can't give you the money. Agree with them. Understood is the simplest one. You can delete everything with that. Understood, but I can't give you the money.
Let's back up one step for the person who hasn't gotten to that point where they accept that it is more painful to lose the money. How can they do some personal change work
Well, I'd probably do a Dickens thing with them, put them in a trance, let them see the ultimate consequence if they keep running their life that way.
Oh, I love it.
And how they'll look, how they'll feel, how their life will be.
So future pace the disaster.
Yeah, future pace the disaster, and then bring them out of it.
All right.
So, hey, you talk about learning to say yes.
Yeah, this one came up quite a bit earlier. I did a video on it, and then you actually did another one with a different angle on the same thing. Learn to say yes when you can genuinely be helping somebody and it will make you feel good.
Yeah.
So here's a simple thing. Maybe I'll do this on my video for today. Everybody's selfish. What was that?
And it was perfect timing.
Oh, that was like a ding bell or something.
Nice.
Anyway, realize everybody is selfish. So if you're philanthropic,
Well put.
if you're giving money to causes, why are you doing that? Because it'll probably make you feel good knowing that you're doing some good in the world. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing that everyone's selfish. We are. Why are Mike and I sharing all this information with you for free on a podcast?
Because we make a lot of money?
Well, hopefully it'll turn into some, but we enjoy doing this.
I know.
It makes us feel good to record these podcasts. We are putting this out there for selfish reasons. So you can actually reframe selfishness as a good thing in certain ways. And so you
like Hitler invading Poland.
You can be very selfish by saying yes to people who need your help because it'll feel good for you.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Now, buddy, we got to go to the empowering question. We have 2 empowering questions back to back. So
okay.
Why don't you bring those on right now?
All right. So empowering question number 1. What is the most empowering thing I can add to my life right now? And how will I make it permanent? What key thing will I do today that will maximize the awesome quotient of my life? And how will I make it last forever?
Nice one. I've got a Meta 5 for you, Chris.
That was both questions right there.
Fantastic. The Meta 5 is Mike Brooks and the fair fight. When I was a kid, I was raised by a dad who was former British Army, and he had boxed in the Army. As my mother said, he had never won. He'd boxed precisely once, and as she described it, he kept sticking his head out at the guy and letting the guy hit him in the face. My dad taught me to box because I was British, and you must fight fair. And he said, here's how you protect yourself, son. Punch him in the nose to bring tears to his eyes, then you can finish him off, which was left vacant and vague and not having a clue what that meant. Off. I got in numerous fights because I was bullied. Woo, there's the bully bell. I got in numerous fights because I was bullied, not because I wanted to get in fights, but it just happened. And I made the mistake of always fighting fair. And I got the crap kicked out of me. I remember our friend Mike Brooks. We were at a camping trip and he got in an argument with another big kid. And his dad said, well, are you going to take him on? And he said, yeah, I think I am. Mistake. He puts his fists up. Marquis de Queensbury rules. And yes, it is Marquis. And this guy just grabs him by the arm, swings him around, smacks him to the ground, punches lights out. And Mike's crying, the fight's over. And this guy's friends are going, yay, you won. And my dad said, no, he didn't win. Mike won. And I'm thinking, how did Mike win? And he said, because he fought fair. So my dad framed to me that if you fight fair, even if you get the snot kicked out of you, you have somehow won. And I spent many years winning fights like that.
Oh, man. All right. That was fantastic. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to podcast 107 of the Brain Software Show.
Yes.
Our show.
Program.
I didn't want to say podcast twice in the same sentence.
BBC is now
so
off the air.
Make sure that you head on over to MikeMandelHypnosis.com. We've got an opt-in form there where you can sign up for the free Brain Software ebook, which is a phenomenal resource, and I highly recommend that all of you get it. And you can check out our events page for all the local stuff that's coming up. Well, local, Las Vegas, Toronto, whatever we're doing, wherever we're going to be in the world, which is mostly Toronto. It's at MikeMandelHypnosis.com/events. And you'll find there, for example, the James Tripp weekend that's coming up, the Graphology weekend, the Architecture of Hypnosis, 5-day trainings that's coming up in November, and all the other stuff we're up to. So thanks very much. And good night.
Okay, give me any theme off the top of your head, any idea, and I will instantly write a song about it. Just a short one, and then we're going to go up and get coffee because I need coffee.
Okay, so I'm looking at the softbox, which is a lighting fixture for those of you who were unfamiliar listening. A softbox, so the lighting fixture that we use for our videos.
I've got a brand new lighting fixture. It's in the basement where I like to record. And I turn the light on every single night, and I never wind up getting bored. But when the bulbs burn out, it's a problem. And I've got to go to the shop. Yes, he does. And I put money down on the counter, and I throw up on top of the mop. Yes, I do, and I clean the vomit from the basement, and I put a new...
That's just crazy.
Oh, man.
You worked vomit into that. That was just great.
Stuff really comes out.